All I wanted was a desk job working on policies that would transform communities and citizens on the ground. But at graduation, I found myself like most people today, unemployed. Welcome to the desk with W.E. Cruz. Honey, it's time to take notes. Lose the title and win the test. You know, it's not the situation that's keeping you stuck. Honey, it's the stories that you're telling yourself about your situation. And I know this all too well. At the age of 24, I was on the road to fulfilling my dreams at Seton Hall University. I had just completed a dual master's degree, not once, but twice. So by the age of 24, I had an undergrad and 2 masters, 9+ internships under my belt, a baby on my hip, married, and I was on my way, or so I thought. I did everything my mentors taught me to do. Honey, I wasn't the one that needed to touch the fire to know that it would burn me. Baby, just tell me it's going to burn me and I won't even touch it. I won't even look that way. My path was so linear, okay? Never catch me caught up in anything. I was so focused on eradicating poverty because I truly believe that the trap of poverty is not a requirement for life. And so I was on my way to the United Nations. All I wanted was a desk job working on policies that would transform communities and citizens on the ground. But at graduation, I found myself like most people today, unemployed. And after countless applications and rejection letters, your girl was like, listen, if they won't hire me, I will hire myself. Now that declaration, that decree, that word created a whole nother world I wasn't even prepared for. Because we know that your word creates your world. But back then, I didn't know. Until the God began to speak to me about this particular lesson. Lose the title and win the test. You see, when I found myself unemployed, it wasn't the situation itself that kept me stuck. It was the stories I was telling myself about my situation that kept me stuck. Honey, that title of unemployment kept me paralyzed. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. All I kept thinking was how all my colleagues were getting jobs at the State Department, were getting jobs in diplomacy and organizations, and me living at home with my baby and husband, unsure and uncertain about my next course of action. All I could think of was the rejection letters and this idea of not being good enough. But I made a declaration that if they won't hire me, I'll hire myself. And through my husband, I met and became friends with Dr. Naomi Jordan Cook, who was my partner for the last decade at the Virtual Global Consulting Group, our tech company. And I pivoted into entrepreneurship, not necessarily by choice, but by necessity and really by divine assignment. You see, losing the title, win the test, was what the Lord wanted me to learn in that season. I remember the Lord speaking to me vividly, like lose the title of unemployment, lose the title of being rejected, lose the title of being not good enough, and win the test in front of you. Win at being a mom, win at being a new wife, win at the things that win at being a wonderful sister, win at being just present in life. And it was in that season I began to just focus on what was in front of me, right? Being present. That's the gift of life. What I realized in that season, that it wasn't the situation that was keeping me paralyzed, that was sucking life out of me, but it was the stories, right? We all know that emotion is just energy in motion. Energy in motion, emotion. And so when the Lord began to work on my emotion, it began to create a new world. I started to shift my language, shift my conversation. That's why conversations are the currency of possibilities, and words create your world. And that's why we have to be very careful what we say, how we speak about situations that we don't understand. Because the seeds that we're sowing can either grow roots, because the seeds that we're sowing can either sow weeds or they can sow words of growth. I may not know and so I may not know the details of your current situation, but understand it is not your situation, but it's the stories you're saying about your situation that's got you stuck. It's so important that you begin to speak the words of the world that you're looking to live into. God has given you everything in your hands to bloom today, to create the future you want to live into tomorrow. And that, my friends, is your desk notes.